Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new video. Make sure you like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. And we have to talk a little bit about some of the runoffs stuff as we continue on into the 2020 election. Again, nothing at the presidential level will really come up between now and January 6th, which is also around the same time that Georgia is going to be having their runoff. So it's important we talk about some of the new developments and some of what Lin Wood has been saying and potentially misleading conservatives. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But first, I have to tell you guys about my friends over at My Patriot Supply. We're facing an uncertain future, my friends, because the next few weeks will set the tone for the next 4 years. And do you really want to be caught unprepared if things suddenly take a turn for the worst and Biden ends up getting inaugurated? Because you don't have to. You can start preparing today so you have enough emergency food, water, and other essentials on hand at all times no matter what happens. And it's best to have at least a 1-month supply of food and water for everyone in your household. You want long-term storage food that lasts up to 25 years so it's ready whenever you need it. And that is why I personally recommend My Patriot Supply. They're the go-to leaders for emergency preparedness, and they're the only source my family uses and trusts for our preparedness plan, and you can too. Right now, save $100 off a full 4-week supply of nutritious meals that supply 2,000 calories a day, delivered discreetly to your home. Saving $100 is impossible to pass up, especially now. So go to preparewithredeagle.com and get ready now. That's preparewithredeagle.com. There's no time to lose. Do it now. So I hope everybody had a good Christmas. As we continue on in the election fight, we'll go past the new year. As I previously mentioned, to January 6th, we'll see what happens. But in the meantime, the Georgia runoffs are also a somewhat important election here for the Senate. And that will determine the outcome of the U.S. Senate control, no matter who wins the presidency. If Biden does end up getting inaugurated, that would mean that if the Republicans held the Senate, that they would be able to stop most, if not all, of his legislative agenda. If the Democrats, on the other hand, were to regain the Senate, that would mean that Biden could pass literally whatever he wanted with virtual immunity. So obviously there's this small crowd on the right who wants to boycott the Georgia runoffs because they think that it will be a brutal blow to the GOP establishment, which is understandable. There is a lot of anger that is being thrown and levied at the GOP establishment because they're not fighters, and rightfully so. Ideally, we would have done this sooner. Ideally, we would have done this right after Trump won, but instead we had to work with the GOP establishment, and it eventually got us nowhere. That's when we should have fought the GOP establishment, but now we're still here. We're still fighting the GOP establishment. So, but either way, it is a very important election, and it's really the question of, would you want to punish the GOP so much to the point where Kamala Harris gets to break ties in the Senate and you're going to be able to pass amnesty and you're going to be able to make Puerto Rico and DC states? Because the answer for most conservatives, including myself, is no. If I lived in Georgia, I would vote in the Georgia runoffs. And there is an understandable, legitimate argument for staying home. However, what's come up and what's being pushed by Lin Wood is not even one of them, because it's just getting ridiculous at this point. I've talked about Lin Wood, I've talked about Sidney Powell, which both of them are not even a part of the Trump legal team. Trump has distanced himself from both of them, and interestingly enough, I thought that the cases were interesting that they were being put forward at the beginning, but they never really came into fruition. And as you can see, with their futility at hand, a lot of the Kraken stuff never really turned out to be what it was hyped up to be. And there's nothing less than incompetency in that regard. And now Lin Wood is virtually coming out here with these new bizarre conspiracies saying that SCOTUS will invalidate the presidential election, which we've seen no signs of that. I mean, we look at John Roberts. I did a video on that. I'm not trying to be a black pillar. I'm not trying to be a doomer. But the fact is, Congress is going to be the last stand for Trump. I don't believe SCOTUS is going to invalidate the presidential election so far. Now, if we were talking back in November, I'd be a little bit more optimistic, but it doesn't seem like SCOTUS is going to invalidate the presidential election. And then Lin Wood then really loses me here, saying real conservative senators can then be appointed after Kemp, Perdue, and Loeffler's arrest. Now, keep this in mind. I do not like Brian Kemp. I do not like Kelly Loeffler. But the idea that they're going to be going to jail and you're going to have real conservative senators being appointed, that's extremely, extremely slim, to the point where it doesn't seem likely to happen at all. And you look and see exactly what they're talking about. They are pushing a lot of this that they're pushing. It looks like the propaganda that the Democrats are putting out there in order to trick Republicans into staying home. Saying, listen to Lin and Sydney and listen very closely to what President Trump says. His words always have a deeper meaning. So they're kind of engaging in this Q boomer type of stuff, which has been proven to be fake this entire time. And I say this because we know what happened in the election, but trying to make absurd or false claims of voter F word, that hurts Trump's case. I think the Kraken cases and everything have honestly hurt Trump's case. They haven't helped it. You can look at the tally of the cases lost. They always say they're 1 in 50 or something like that, but over 40 of those are the Kraken cases that never turned out to be anything. And these absurd and false claims are distracting from what actually took place. It's a major distraction. And you see these people, they literally think Trump won California, they think Trump won Virginia, and Trump won New Mexico. That did not happen under any circumstance. If it did, that would mean that every election's had a massive systemic error, including 2016, 2012. There's no way Trump won California. A lot of the maps that are being spread out there make little to no sense. Some of the maps, obviously I've done maps about this. I've said maybe this state would change, maybe this state would change based off of evidence that we have. But looking at the some of the maps that a lot of Lin Wood's followers have been putting out about red California, Arizona and Nevada, that's a different story. We could discuss that. We could have a debate about that. But red California, not going to happen. 95% of conservatives that follow me, including myself, realize that that's just a load of nonsense. That did not happen no matter what. California has always been a solidly blue state. That's the way it is. Demographically speaking, it's been a solid blue state and will continue to be a solid blue state for the foreseeable future unless there is a massive party change or a massive party realignment. So in terms of Georgia, a lot of this is just misinformation. A lot of what it is a form of voter suppression. We know Lin Wood has been a Democrat in Georgia for many years. Now, that doesn't really mean much to me because people change. A good 20% of Donald Trump supporters either this time or last time voted for Obama at least once. That's just the way it is. A lot of Donald Trump's voters voted Democrat in the past. A lot of them are still registered Democrats. I don't look into the registered Democrat thing too much, but either way, we know that Lin Wood, what he's been saying, really does confirm some of the conspiracies about him being a Democrat operative, because some of these claims are just too ridiculous to come true. And if they do come true, great. If this massive unearthing of massive evidence happens where SCOTUS invalidates the election and Trump will remain president, great. But I think Trump's best path is through Congress January 6th. I think most conservatives are going to agree with me, and they'll agree that Lin Wood is being absolutely careless when he's urging Republicans now to explicitly boycott the runoff election. Because keep this in mind, Lin Wood was not doing this a couple of weeks ago. He did come out and he said boycott. Then he changed his tune at the urging of President Trump, and now he's going back to boycott for some reason. Doesn't exactly add up. Doesn't exactly make sense. People need to understand that the low-level grifters should not be acknowledged. Lin Wood is not going to save this republic. Sidney Powell's not going to save this republic. Donald Trump's the only one that can go out there and save this republic at this point, and he'll have some help from Congress, and we'll see what happens if it happens. It's not guaranteed. It's not the most likely course of action right now, but it's possible. And the additional other pathways are a massive distraction from the actual case at hand, from the actual path at hand, and eventually will lead Donald Trump astray and off the rails. And that was what this tweet was referring to right here. But in the meantime, it's important that we talk about Georgia. I'll do several videos on it in the next coming weeks as we get closer. But if you look at the betting odds so far, there's a 70% chance that Georgia will stay in Republican hands. That would mean Republicans would win one of the two elections. There's a 32% chance, according to Predictit, that the Republicans will lose both seats and the Democrats will maintain the Senate. We'll see what happens. It's going to come down to turnout. Usually the runoffs have favored Republicans in the state of Georgia over the past couple decades or so, but with changing demographics and different voting patterns in education, that may not be guaranteed anymore. We're going to have to wait and see what happens in a few weeks from now when the elections take place. But anyways, I would urge people to vote in them if they do live in Georgia. I would not urge people to boycott. And if you are going to boycott the election, don't do it under the false pretense of the Supreme Court making sure that Kemp, Perdue, and Loeffler go to jail to have new senators that are actually conservative that get appointed. This seems more like a psyop to me than an actual call to action against the GOP establishment. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Please like this video down below, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media, become a member, donate to the Patreon, or subscribe. Star links in description. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Red Eagle, out.